So, I put it out to somewhat of a vote, and I said you wanted to hear another deduction story before anything else, so this is the next deduction story that I've got. I wanted to talk about using strategy, and I have two stories that kind of highlight the use of strategy. To be totally honest, a deductionist doesn't always need strategy. There are a few instances where strategy is useful. For example, in the real world, you would use strategy for solving crimes and catching the criminal and all that kind of stuff. But for an average deductionist who isn't, a crime fighter, strategy isn't actually something that you give a lot of thought to. But I can think of a few times when a deductionist might use strategy, and that would be in the instance where they're trying to coax an answer out of someone. For example, wanting to confirm a deduction. You might use strategy to get someone to be in their comfort zone, and then from that comfort zone you can confirm your deduction or not. But then there's other examples of strategy that I've used, and the two stories that I have today are both from work. The first one was a co-worker I had who was awful. She was horrible. No one liked her. She was not good at her job, but she had friends in management, so you couldn't really do anything against her. But using strategy, I put her in a position where she would either eventually be fired or would save face and quit by just making sure that a lot of the bad things that usually got swept under the rug got addressed in situations that they normally would have been ignored by the management. But I also was able to do so in such a way where I was never actually actively involved in any of this, because if I was involved too much, it would have been pretty obvious that I was behind it all. So I had to stay away from everything. However, the more recent example is kind of an ongoing one. Backstory on this is the 5:30 in the morning shift, which sounds like hell, is actually my favorite shift, but it's been taken away from me and given to this worker who does not know how to do her job. No one likes her. Very similar situation to the one I just talked about. But I, again, am slowly working on getting this into a position where I can take back my position. And the key point here is that in strategy, even if you think of it like a chess match, there is no idle move. There is no non-move. Everyone has a turn, and their reply can tell you how they're reacting, what the game is going to be. And I've maneuvered myself so that I can either checkmate or stalemate, and even in a stalemate I still have a backup plan. So for example, I made a move today, in fact, where I took a morning shift that they didn't want me to have, but I took the morning shift, and that puts them in a position where now, and everyone was happy that I took the morning shift because I did a great job. So by making that move, it puts my boss in a position where she either has to confront me about taking the shift she didn't want me to take, which puts her in a bad position because from there I can make my demands because I'm in the right. I have the moral high ground, and I have a good 80% of the staff on my side. So she could try and confront me, or she could ignore what I did. She could ignore my move. But even if she ignores my move, that isn't a non-move. Ignoring your opponent's move is still a move if you play it right. It is significant, signals either a white flag event where she's giving up the point, taking the hit, or a situation where she herself is making her own plan. So being mindful of how all of these kind of politics, I hate politics, but all of this kind of stuff is kind of a political war sort of thing in the workplace. So keeping in mind how everyone's always trying to move into different positions and different ranks, imagining that just like a chessboard, you can see how it kind of works out into a strategy of its own. So in the art of war, you get to see things like that where you start to understand situations for what they are. I'm basically in a chess match right now, and I'm in a position right now where she chose to ignore my move today, despite making it fairly clear she doesn't want me on the 5:30 shift, but she still chose to ignore it. That means one of two things: either A, she is white flagging, giving up the point at least, or she's making her own plan to come back at me. Either way, the game's not over yet. So I have to be prepared, I have to be on guard and ready to see what her next move will be. But that is my little deduction story of how principles of strategy and the art of war can be applied to everyday situations like workplace politics. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.